I'd like to introduce you to a few of the resources that we've created to help you work with desires with each other and coach desires. One of the key ones is Questions for Jesus, and this book includes 52 meditations. We've taken every passage in the book of Matthew where Jesus speaks to a desire, and the meditation helps you get into the passage, visualize it, activate your emotional brain, and then we've got 5 questions for Jesus. So if you have 52 meditations and you ask one question a day, this will give you a year's worth of questions for Jesus, and then there's space in the book to journal as well. We also have a Questions for Jesus mobile app that's going to be released shortly, but that will let you do this whole process on your smartphone. You'll be able to read the meditation, pick a question, play soaking music while you're praying it, and then journal right there, and even share what God speaks to you with your friends or on Facebook. Another resource with this is the Questions for Jesus group guide, and we've created this so that you can take a group of people through an 8-week class where you learn how to pray your desires. We also have a DVD set that goes with the group guide, and PowerPoints and handouts, everything that you need to run an 8-week course. One of my favorite tools that we've created is the Desire Discovery cards, and this set of 50 cards has several things in it. There's 16 emotion cards, and if you look closely you can see the positive emotion cards are green, like here's hopeful, and the negative emotion cards are red. And each of the emotion words has 6 alternate words that sort of expand on it, and what you'll find is when people are trying to talk about their emotions, especially if they don't have a very big emotional vocabulary, it's somehow amazingly freeing for them to have a card in their hand. But this deck has 16 emotion cards, then it has 16 cards for the desires, like here's the desire to come through, the desire for peace, and here again there's related words that you can use to help people sort of home in on what exactly they desire. And then we've also got a set of twisted desire cards. And the way that these work, like here's the desire for comfort. There's 2 ways that we respond when we don't get what we desire. One way is represented by this top picture, we grasp after it. So when I'm feeling pain, I medicate myself with food or movies or distractions or productivity or whatever it is. Or this second picture represents the other way we deal with not being comforted, is we draw back, we hide, we try to keep away from it. And you'll find with all the desires that there's those 2 different ways of response. And if you know what those are, it makes it easier to identify people's true desire in the midst of their twisted desire. The last thing this deck includes is a group of question cards. For instance, here's some questions about emotion. These are questions that help people visualize something. And the deck includes this little booklet that has 10 games that you can play with the cards. So they're icebreakers, they're ones that are more intimate, but it'll let you use the question cards and use these different cards in a variety of ways to open a group up and help them talk about their emotions and desires. So this is a great tool that we've created to help you work on your own or with groups with desires. We have a similar pack here of desire photo cards, and what we've done with these is, like here's a card for the desire for freedom, and on the back you have the twisted desire, a lack of freedom. So what you can do with these, very often people, it's much easier for them to identify with an image with their emotional brain than with a word, because the emotional brain speaks the language of images instead of the language of words and concepts. So when you give people images like belonging or joy or justice, often that triggers something in them where they can identify it in places where they were having a hard time connecting before. And you can use the true desires are in color on the front, the twisted desires, like here's a guy sitting alone in the stands representing the lack of belonging. Those are in black and white on the back. So lots of options there for using those cards. A final resource that we have, this is the Engaging the Heart flip book, And this is kind of cool. What you do with it is you would sit across the table from someone, and each set of pages has a diagram or a model on one side. So here's a picture of the heart model. You can see it in the camera. And you point that toward the person you're talking to, and then on your side you have your little cheat sheet of notes so that you can describe the heart model to them. So, for instance, here's one about identifying and describing emotion, and we have a diagram of the different positive and negative emotions on the facing page. Here's one explaining the two guardians. So there's the two guardians, and here's your notes for explaining that diagram. So this includes the drilling down model, the desire wheel, most of the key concepts for working with this, and then it has notes for you to talk about that. So that's a real popular aid just for working with someone across the table on their desires. You can get all of this at coach22.com. That's coach22.com, or you can also find it through the MetaFormation website. That's meta-formation.com. Love to see what comes of having you work with the Desire tools.